Okay, it is Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling. Ricky, you made it, and I am shocked, honestly.
I told you I was going to power through. That was the goal. That was my aim of the game today. I did call out sick from work today, but I was able to rest so I could be here for you.
That's right. You're
listeners.
Here for the most important thing. Not paying bills, but doing a wrestling podcast.
Way more important. I have plenty of PTO. Not worried about it.
Oh, I'm jealous. My paid time off is coming for Forbidden Door. I'm going to Canada. I haven't been to Toronto. I haven't been back there in a number of years. We'll see how importing my car works. Hopefully it's not seized at the border.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were doing that. Yeah, clearly you need a government job like me, and then you get all the PTO.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, us engineers, all we get is 2 weeks off a year, and that's it. I'm sorry, 10 business days. It's not actually 2 weeks.
Oof, yeah.
I've argued that before.
More.
I go, 2 weeks would mean 14 days. There's 7 days in a week.
Right.
2 equals 14. No, it doesn't work that way. Why not? You could literally do whatever you want.
You get holidays in addition to those days?
I mean, all, 3 or 4 of them?
I don't know. We have 11 state holidays that we have off. Plus, when I first started with the state, I accrued leave at 8 hours per month. But now that I've been there a certain amount of time, I'm now accruing at 9 hours a month. And starting in July, I start accruing at 11 hours a month. So
no. I don't get that many. It's lame.
It's not too shabby. I mean, I could make more money in the private sector, but the government gives me a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, I mean that's the good thing about my current job is I kind of set my own hours, and so I kind of I need to go in early, but then and by early I mean I'm there at 5:30 in the morning every day, but I can leave at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and go play golf.
Yeah,
it's great for the summer.
Awesome. Yeah. My first job with the state was really flexible like that. And I could, as long as I got my 40 hours in, it didn't matter when I started, when I finished. My new role is more of a support role. So I am online 5 days a week, 8 to 4. But like I said, it's pros and cons for sure. Anyway, that's enough about our...
Well, no, I mean, I just got back from golf about 15 minutes ago, absolutely soaked, got caught up in the rain. It got to the point where I was so wet, I'm like, well, I'm gonna finish. And my friend that was with me, there was 4 of us together, and 2 of them were in a cart, and 2 of us were walking, so they had a little shelter. They were just, chilling in the cart. And then us 2 that were walking were just like, well, fuck it, let's go. And I bogeyed just 3 holes in a row, the last 3, in just the pouring rain. Very funny to putt, and it just stops in a puddle that developed.
That's scary.
Yeah, very. Oh, there was no lightning or thunder or anything. It was just heavy rain.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was very entertaining because once you get soaked, it's like, well, I can't get more wet.
Right, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
So, on this podcast today, we'll be talking a little bit of Collision Talk, AEW, post Double or Nothing stuffs. We got New Japan Dominion, which happened on June 4th. The blocks were announced for the G1. Kind of interesting, maybe lame, maybe cool. I guess we'll discuss that in a little bit. Then the Joshi section of the podcast, TJPW had a Korakuen Hall, which... spoiler, I thought was really bad. That was very poor. Stardom's running shows as they do, and a couple other things to talk about there. If you're interested in the Joshi section and women's wrestling in general, may I point you to the Patreon. Patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast. Every single month, there's the Joshi 2010s journey out of the Dark Ages. There's a Pure J podcast on there, so if you've never heard of Pure J, it's kind of the offshoot of JWP, famous women's wrestling promotion of the past that's charging on with a very small roster, hanging on by an edge, but we do a monthly podcast on there. I do an LLPW podcast that's monthly, so you're kind of guaranteed about at least 4 episodes every month on the various tiers. $5 tier gets you everything. And then just recently, I pumped out a couple special episodes, and another one's coming. One of them was the state of the Joshi scene, kind of in a post-COVID perspective over what's where each promotion kind of stood before COVID, what happened to them during COVID, and where they stand right now as we're about, 3-4 months since restrictions have been lifted. Are they on the right track? Are they still far behind? Are they in the mud? Go listen to that episode. I break down everything that basically isn't Stardom, because you hear enough Stardom on this podcast, RLR proper here, because Stardom is grown. It has grown to be the number 2 promotion in Japan, so we know where they stand. But where do the others stand? That is the big episode there. And I also have coming so Ricky, as you know, I have like the match guide and rankings for podcasts that I like doing every couple weeks in conjunction with the podcast. Well, I've gathered up all of my points that I've done since I've been doing this podcast for 5 years basically now. And so it's kind of, I figured, how cool would it be, based on the podcast rankings that I've had, accumulate all the points and see who the best women's wrestler is, based on the podcast, the last 5 years. I think that's going to be a fun episode to do. That's coming out. I had to crunch a lot of data, had to put in the formulas, but it's all there. Head on over to the Patreon there. Then, of course, AJW, All Japan Women's Wrestling Retro Section, coming up. We continue through 94, the retirement of Akira Hokuto and her retirement road, the push of LCO, and the road to the Tokyo Dome. We're heading there, and then naturally, Ricky, you will join me later for, unfortunately, WCW. We are weeks away from the year 2000, one of the worst years a TV pro wrestling company has ever put out. And we have just finished Starrcade 99. That was the last episode. We're covering the fallout. I've watched most of that episode upon this recording, and it's horrible. It's really bad. So clearly, we'll have a lot.
I can't wait. I haven't watched it yet, and I can't wait.
Yeah,
I need to know what happens after the end of that pay-per-view.
After Roddy Piper comes out in the main event, says "ring the bell," and then they go away.
Yeah, I need to know how that's resolved.
Unbelievably terrible end to the pay-per-view.
So, okay. Oh yeah, to the pay-per-view, yeah, for sure. But we'll see what happens. Could you
imagine? Yeah. Imagine that Anarchy in the Arena or the MJF, Pillars 4-Way. Okay? And then you have fucking Jeff Jarrett or whomever just comes out in the middle of the match and goes, "Ring the bell, it's over. Here's the title. Let's get out." And then people look at the camera with a funny face. Could you imagine that happening today?
I mean, it was pretty terrible. But like I said, I can't wait to see what happens. So
because it's so baffling.
I feel like it probably right. So I feel like it probably did its job.
So
I don't know.
No, if you look at the attendance figures, they were really low, and the pay-per-view actually. I didn't look that up last time while we were covering it because I was just so in shock of the horror that I'd witnessed.
Yeah.
Let's see. WCW pay-per-view buys, Starrcade. We're doing this live. I don't care. Starrcade 1999 because this is important. Here we go. So a little perspective. Ooh, I got a WCW pay-per-view eyes from WrestleNomics. I didn't realize he did all this. Is it just on his site? Is it laid out? It's got to load. God, there's a lot of ads. Holy shit. Okay. Okay, there's the buy rate, and then there's there's the estimate. That's the important number that we can correlate to today. So, okay, So Starrcade 99, one of their biggest shows of the year. I'm going to put it in perspective here. Year over year. You ready? If you remember, 97 was kind of their biggest year ever. Correct?
Okay.
700,000. Okay, that was the Sting Hogan. Okay? That's kind of, we started,
okay.
I started covering after Starrcade 97. Starrcade 98, 460,000. Okay, not as hot. Still high, still pretty high. It's, almost 500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Starrcade 99. Okay, so we went 700, 450. Starrcade 99, 145.
Ooh.
Way down significantly.
Oh.
Yeah, in 98,
that is bad.
more perspective. Like their lowest pay-per-view number was like 275,000, and they got up to like 460 a couple times. And then through 99, it's just been in half. And so those sound like really bad numbers, right?
Yeah.
Especially for the time frame. Well, 2000, it gets way worse. We're talking 70,000 buys, 60,000 buys,
Ooh.
50,000 buys by Starrcade 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like TNA numbers, except a little better.
That's not so good.
Yeah. All right.
It's not so good.
All right. So I'm going to play a drop, and we're going to talk a little bit about AEW, maybe some thoughts heading in towards Collision. So, MJF music. Why not? Do
Sure.
it.
Do it.
Okay, so Collision is starting in like 2 weeks. It was announced CM Punk's coming back. He's having a match. It's going to be FTR and CM Punk against Samoa Joe and Jay White and Juice Robinson. So, been joking a while that they're going to expand Bullet Club within AEW. I was actually joking in another Discord, the One Nation Radio Discord, that if you look at my Twitter, there was this whole like conspiracy that CM Punk is actually going to be the big member of Bullet Club for AEW, and it's so absurd that it actually might work throughout that. But
I don't love that.
No, it's probable. Like it's not unlikely.
It's problematic.
It's problematic for sure.
No.
Like CM Punk is problematic.
Oof, I don't know. That's terrible.
So the Chicago ticket sales for the Collision show is doing well. I mean, it's going to be one of their biggest TV ticket sales shows in ages.
Mm-hmm.
However, all the other Collision shows, especially on that Canadian loop, aren't doing well. I mean, we're talking like sub 1,000 in Hamilton. Calgary's doing all right. Regina, Saskatchewan's a small town. Everyone's on vacation there. My theory is they had this big Canadian like house show loop planned, and this Collision thing just happened to come up, and this is just where they've just gone for this. So, the more interesting numbers that kind of stood out to me was certainly the Hamilton one, but all the shows like that are in and around the Toronto area, because Hamilton's driving distance. I mean, I went to some CFL games in Hamilton. So that tells me that they're not hot tickets. It's not very, they're not buying into the idea of Collision yet. Nobody is.
Right.
Because they probably see them as house shows, and I would certainly assume the advertising hasn't been all that like great for them. So maybe the word of CM Punk is supposed to help that out.
I thought we talked about this last last episode, but maybe not. Something that I heard about these Canadian shows is that they don't know if the Canadian audience isn't sure that they're going to be able to see Collision on television.
Well, in between, we did not talk about that, but other people have, and in between podcasts, it has been announced that Collision will be airing in Canada
on like free TV or whatever.
Yeah, like
cable
TSN or
based.
something. Yeah.
I don't know what. TSN. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I would have thought that announcement would have pushed a few tickets out the door.
See, I don't think so. I don't think it actually matters that it's on TV or not, because if it's a show people want to go to, they're gonna go. Like whether it's live or not, that's always the presiding theory with me. It's like you put on an interesting match, your promotion is interesting right now, and this company, outside of the two specialty shows, Forbidden Door and the Wembley one, this company's not doing great in their ticket sales year over year. It's certainly down. The ratings are pretty steady. I'm not like worried about those because people are still watching, the TV show. But in terms of it being a hot product, and I've been talking about this for months, the booking is so weird in 2023 for this company, and it's really showing with the audience. The audience is I truly believe the audience is not vibing with this company right now. And that's why they're also not wanting to go to these shows live. You're seeing there's too many angles with like Ethan Page and the Hardys, and not enough of what we were seeing in like from that November to early January stretch, where it was like 8 weeks of just awesome matches and clean finishes and people wanting to kick each other's ass. There's a reason why the Double or Nothing ticket sales went up when Anarchy the Arena was announced, because that's the program to me that was the most like AEW, the most that vibed with it. Not these, I'm gonna say it's too much like sports entertainment. It's almost like they're gotten to with the stories. So that's how I'm feeling about the show, and I think this vibe is carrying over into the uncertainty of how to believe in Collision. Do you believe in it? Do I believe in it? That's my kind of vibe check on what Collision is going to be. I'm going to watch it. I'm sure they're going to come out of the gate, pretty hot. But if they do a lot of squash matches like Rampage or Elevation and whatnot, then it's just going to falter like everything else. And that's a big worry to me. What's your vibe check on Collision?
I think it's an unknown quantity, right? We talked about this last episode about what AW needs to do to maintain its audience while it's trying to attract new I think the obvious answer is bring back the ranking system. And it doesn't have to be as, they don't have to post it every week. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, there's breaking news rigid,
right now.
So there's been a joke in the Red Leaf Retrocast Discord that I've had with people about who puts together the women's matches. Because I've always been critical of this nonsense in the women's matches where they're held back, they're booked like shit, the match formats are terrible. The match formats are laid out very bad, the agent. Well, that's BJ Whitmer. And it was just announced that he has been fired because he was just arrested on domestic violence charges.
Oh, well, good riddance then.
Yeah, good fucking riddance. Like, I already didn't like the way he was working, and now he's a piece of shit, apparently.
Yeah. So that's not a name I'm familiar with. What was his resume before he came to AEW?
Ring of Honor. Wrestler in Ring of Honor, producer kind of deal as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good fucking riddance.
So, yeah.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
You were talking about Collision.
Yeah. We won't know till we know. But
Right.
it's
does that main
crazy,
event
but
like do anything for you? Is that kind of what you
no.
wanted to see?
I mean, I didn't want Punk back. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm tired of the
Um,
FTR Punk stuff myself. I personally have no interest in that. Maybe there's a sect of fans, but CM Punk got mixed reactions when he was announced throughout the shows. By the way,
Yeah.
that Denver show that you were at, good crowd.
Colorado Springs, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
Seal Springs. Yeah.
It was not a huge crowd, but we were
3,000.
loud when it counted. Yeah. I feel like the fact that there wasn't a lot of online discord about the crowd means we were at least okay. If we really sucked, we would have heard about it.
Well, I mean, the show for the most part was pretty hot until that final, I would say 40 minutes. It's kind of when it fell through for me with the wet, this Jay White, Ricky Starks program is so weird, and it's just not amplifying any of these people's strengths. The non-clean finishes, the interference, it's nonsense, and I think a lot of the lack of hype behind the CM Punk return match for the first episode of Collision. I mean, it certainly doesn't help that Jay White has been booked like this since his debut up to this point. Because if he was treated like a main eventer, this would feel like a way bigger match.
Right.
So, and then Samoa Joe's been kicking it on Ring of Honor TV for months.
Yeah, which I haven't been watching, so I have no. I'll be excited to see him back on Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the only thing on Ring of Honor worth watching is Athena and what she's been doing. Yeah. But she doesn't face roster people half the time. Anyways, that's my vibe check on Collision. I'm still not really. I mean, Adam Cole clearly going into MJF. That seems pretty hot for the most part, which begs the question: why was the Jericho match unsanctioned, anyways? Because if it's not going to count, then whatever.
Right.
Very, very weird stuff. But we got a couple announcements for Forbidden Door. The Ospreay Omega match is on, and Okada Danielson. Yeah, I'm going to that show. It's gonna fucking rule.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I've been when those matches were announced, I turned to Jason and I was like, "Are you sure we don't need to go?" I was like, "We need to go. We don't need to go. I mean, we do, but we're not."
Fly to Detroit and then drive the rest of the way to Toronto.
Oh, that's a good. I mean, we can't. Obviously, we can't do it. We can't do it. It's in 2 weeks. We can't do it.
Could do it. Can do it.
I'd love to, but it's not. Yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, that card could just be each of those matches for 1 hour, and I would be fine.
Those two matches, for me as a fan, those two matches alone is worth the admission.
Exactly.
To me, they're once in a lifetime match kind of deals. The rematch of Ospreay Omega, I just have to see it, and then Okada Danielson it's kind of the ultimate us kind of match, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited for you, and I'm looking forward to watching it on review.
There was a lot of before I was going to play the New Japan drop, but there was a lot of, at least in our circles, of Stardom coming to Forbidden Door because of the Bushiroad connection, and it's the top women's promotion in the world. So ignore the fact that they've had this TJPW alignment since the start of AEW. But number of conflicting reports between Fightful and Meltzer, and I think there's a situation of truth between everybody. And what I mean by that is, so Fightful announced that AEW and Stardom have been in talks, and yet, from the Stardom side, the only talks that have ever existed with Stardom directly was an inquiry about a Tokyo Dome match to face Kairi. And Tony Storm's name came up, and it never got serious. I believe that. I also believe the contact supposedly AEW has had is like asking Rocky Romero, like, "Hey, what's up? Can we get Stardom?"
Right,
It's like, well, that's
right.
not the person you ask. You ask Stardom, not the dude who books New Japan in America.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be where both sides are true in their own ways, along
Right.
with and another supporting factor, I think, to back up this theory is Meltzer's reporting, probably most likely directly from the PR guy, the media guy in Stardom, where he feeds in information to Fumi, and Meltzer gets it, and he's reporting that none of the Stardom wrestlers have visas for Canada, so they can't go. However,
Okay.
if you look up what's required for a Canadian visa, wrestlers don't need a work permit because they're in the performing arts. You can just go. You have your passport. So the fact, and I truly believe that Stardom would probably think that Canada and America are very similar. You need a work visa. It's hard as shit to get into. You have to go by the books and all that. I believe that they just don't know that, and they just don't bother looking it up because they just assume Canada and America are very similar. And if there were truly talks with AEW, then they would have just like come out and said, "Oh no, you don't need a visa."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also the supporting theory there. And regardless, we'd hear about these things months in advance if there was truly talks or truly some sort of negotiations, not 2 weeks before Forbidden Door. You know,
right.
That way, and there's also a lot of. I'm going to defend Stardom here a little bit because we've seen the relationships AEW has with like TJPW and a number of other promotions regarding women's wrestling. Impact Wrestling comes into mind, and it's just not treated as a priority. So why would the other side like crawl and beg to AEW to get put in a 5-minute match that you have no booking power to, and it's probably going to be not very good. You're going to be put with certain wrestlers that aren't going to match up well. Like it's just not a winning formula to go crawl and beg. And and you look at it from a domestic perspective, you're also probably going to have to send one of your top stars, and they're not going to be on your own show to sell tickets because Stardom books their schedule way in advance. And they advertise their wrestlers. So I could keep going on and on. I think both sides have truth to them. I also think that the talks have been absolutely just non-existent. Anyways.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
New Japan. Here we go. Okay, so before we get into Dominion, I want to go over these this G1 blocks. All right? How's that sound?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we got 4 blocks again. There's like the fucking rosters in it. It's like 32 people.
Yes. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yes.
I mean, right away, what sticks out to me is Kiyomiya and Okada are not in the same block. So that kind of...
Yeah.
To me, that kind of tips off that they're going to meet each other in, like, the semifinals.
That's a good point. Do you know who is in A block with Kiyomiya, though? That I'm like, why is this person in the G1? Not somebody like... Sorry. Chase Owens. He always, has a fine G1. I just don't know. What has he been doing lately? I feel like he's just like,
what have you done for me lately? Yeah. I think he's been injured, actually, and this is his, like, comeback.
Oh, okay. In that case, I take it back, Chase Owens. But you gotta do something good here.
All right, so A block is Sonata, Chase Owens, Hikuleo, Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Yota Tsuji, Gabriel Kidd, and Kaito Kiyomiya. I think the favorites out of that are Kiyomiya, Sonata, and I'm very curious what's going to go down with Yota Tsuji.
Yeah, that was one of that stuck out to me. Yota Tsuji and Sonata in the same block. So
yeah, I like A block. I really do. I could do without Hikuleo, but you got the one guy there. Everyone else are young, hungry dudes trying to prove themselves, along with the champion and a quote-unquote top star from another promotion.
Yep, love it.
B block, Okada, Yoshihashi, Taichi, Kenta, Great Okan, Will Ospreay, Tangaloa, and El Phantasmo. The favorites here are Okada and Ospreay. This is another Ospreay-Okada matchup in continuing their story together. Yeah, you got the Kenta match in there. Tangaloa, not really into. Everyone else can probably give you good workhorse type matches. I think this is a good block as well.
I mean, Great Okan is the only wrestler in New Japan that MJF cares about, so.
C block, David Finlay, Ishii, Evil, Tamatanga, poor Shingo, he's in this one. Aaron Hanare, Eddie Kingston from AEW, the only AEW wrestler, and Mad Mikey Nichols as Gino Gambino during Dominion was making jokes over TMDK.
Yeah.
Oh my God, look at this block. I know, Kelly. Mikey Nichols in this is so funny.
The best part about this block is Ishii and Eddie Kingston being in the same block. We'll definitely see them match up again. So
Ishii, Kingston, and Shingo Takagi, and I think Aaron Hanare is going to be a little bit of a dark horse here for for kind of, it's a lot of guys with big power and they're thick. You know, I think they match up well. You got Tamatanga, Evil in there, and maybe Mikey Nichols can give us a decent match here and there.
Yeah.
But
do you think Eddie makes it out of the first round?
No.
Will they let that happen? Okay, yeah.
So.
I didn't think so either, but
I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd probably put the money on David Finlay.
Oh, good point. I missed him because he was on the top of my list.
Yeah, I'd like to see Shingo go on. He's been pretty quiet outside of his couple big time little KOPW gimmick matches that he's doing. But
yeah,
and then the last the last block, D block, it's like a bunch of dudes with bad knees. It's Tanahashi, Naito, Goto, Zack Sabre, who's going to attack the knees. You got Yano in there still again, Jeff Cobb, Shane Haste, and Alex Coughlin. I could see Jeff Cobb doing pretty well here.
Yeah, that sounds like the right call, Naito. I don't know.
They also announced there's going to be a 20-minute time limit on all the matches this year, not 30.
Didn't they do that last year? Oh, it was 30?
It was 30, yeah. That's that's a whole new element.
Okay, yeah, sure is.
So yeah, G1.
Cool.
Looks pretty good. I'm actually into that. Yeah, there's some guys in there I'm not into. I'll just skip those matches.
Yeah.
Dominion, Osaka Joe Hall, June 4th. Measly 7,000 people. Kind of goes into New Japan's not quite back there from the business perspective. You'd like to see them get 10,000 plus. Not yet, but to be fair, they kind of knew they weren't going to do that. There's still a big cultural shift that needs to happen in Japan for people to go back out, cheer. Japan's late to the game to a lot of this. It's going to take a long time. I've spoken about the cultural holdback that's holding a lot of these shows and attendances. But Ospreay beats Archer, U.S. title, 8 minutes. I thought this was perfectly fine. Ospreay looks a little hurt in the shoulder, but that was okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Rematch from the G1 in 2019? In Dallas?
Yeah, in Dallas,
Yeah, I was at that show. That's why I was trying to remember what year that was.
8-man tag, LIJ, just 5 guys. 9 minutes. That was, it was a match. Catch 2-2, defeat the Jet Setters. So Kushida loses the title immediately. Akira and TJP with Dan Maloney. More on Dan Maloney later.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that one, but they had a better match last time. Zach defeats Jeff Cobb in 8 minutes. Nice and quick, to the point. It felt like a Stardom high-speed match. I'm just glad it didn't go like 14 minutes and 50 seconds for once. So it's finally brought a new element. This is what I was talking about. Really like to see Zach face more younger guys now. It was announced, unfortunately, that Aussie Open had to vacate the Strong and IWGP tag titles. So here we have a 3-way tornado match. I thought this was actually kind of exciting for the most part.
I did too.
Yeah, Bishamon. So Dragongate does this too with when they do like 3-way lucha tags and stuff for the trios titles, and there's always a heel team that's causing shtick, and I think it actually works more in that kind of setting rather than a straight tag where the ref gets taken out and you're like, I don't understand why they just don't get DQ'd. When there's so many people involved in the ring, I think it leads better to those kinds of heel antics. But Bishamon won.
Yeah.
Got the titles back. And then I believe that's when like Coughlin or somebody came out and said he has a tag partner, and that's when they had the heel turn of Dan Maloney, and they like beat the shit out of people. I believe this was the match.
No, it was right after the junior heavyweight tag match.
It was the junior one?
Yeah, it was right after that because he was ringside with them the whole time, and then what's his face?
Yeah, I thought that was done super well.
It was. I really loved it.
Yeah. David Finlay defeats El Phantasmo 19 minutes. This was okay. I just wish David Finlay could like find that next gear to get to the higher match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, this match was good. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm into this El Phantasmo story. I'm into all of his matches. I'm into his character change. His face turns great.
Sure.
Now they got this brooding, continuing story with Finlay and Phantasmo. I'm actually kind of sad that they aren't in the same block for the G1. I would have found that interesting if they could have done something more there. Hiromu defeats Master Wato. Thank God. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't think this was like a fantastic match. I thought it was good, but I was just really rooting for Hiromu. I was like, I do not want to see any title on this dork. Keep it off him, Hiromu. Keep it up, and then go to heavyweight, please. So no Hiromu in the G1. So we only got 50% of our wish. Yeah. Despite Master Wato being, clearly better in the ring, I just can't get over this dude. Ishii, Okada, Tanahashi defeat the Blackpool Combat Club plus Shota Umino. 20 minutes. This was phenomenal. It's a top 5 tag match of the year for me. Easily. Didn't have to think about it. I'm up there comparing it to the Aussie Open Bishamon match. There's a couple Stardom matches in there I've really liked this year. But surprisingly, New Japan with the tag titles and the trios titles have really put in an excellent tag year, which is very not like them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they're usually nowhere near any
matches
of my top lists.
Right.
So that actually has shocked me. And look, Ishii, Moxley, that ruled. Claudio and Ishii also ruled. Tanahashi he looks like a broken man. It's sad. But Dick Okada and all of these young boys is fantastic work. I'm into every second of it.
I've said it every episode since I've been more in tune with New Japan lately is how much I love this version of Okada. So
yeah, he's like, he's always trying to kind of evolve himself in subtle ways, in different ways, and create some story about him. So the balloon thing somehow landed a little bit, not as much as others, but he just lost the title. He's trying different things in matches to make him feel less stale. I wish more people would do things like that instead of being kind of the same one note for years and years and years.
You know who's the best at it?
Chris Jericho?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then we got our main event. Sanada defeats Yota Tsuji, 17 minutes. Nice little time. I massively enjoyed this match. I loved Yota Tsuji coming out the gate as fast as he did. The spear, the flop. Sanada, he's fine as champion, but he doesn't feel like the top guy, It's always, I did speak about this before with Sanada, that he's the type of guy that you can put the title on and then every defense you feel like he can lose. I think the issue that, at least myself, I'm running into is I'm always rooting for the other guy against Sanada.
Yeah. He's only had the 2 defenses so far, right? This one and the one at what was the other one? But he's only had the 2 defenses so far, right?
I
can't
this was his
remember.
third. Am I wrong?
No, I don't know. I could.
So, when he beat Okada, we all wanted to see him beat
sick.
Okada. No, okay, so yeah, he had Hiromu and now Yota Tsuji. So it's only 2 matches. So
okay,
I guess that's a little preemptive on my part, but that's we're 2. Yes. I guess we're now 2 in a row where we kind of want to see the other guy beat him.
Yeah. That's fair. If it goes to 3 of them, then we should definitely reevaluate. But and I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I told you how I felt about him as champion when he first won it. I thought it was a terrible idea. But his matches have been good. I don't know.
I went 3 out of 3. It's kind of like a 4-star flat kind of situation there. I'm definitely not hating any of his matches. I'm into them. It's just definitely it's like a new evaluation period because Sanada is not Tanahashi. He's not Okada. We know this. Right. He's not Shingo with just the heavy work rate. He's Sanada. So we kind of know what we're getting, and I'm not disappointed. It's just weird that we're 2 matches in now into this him defending, and we're more excited about the challengers than the actual champion. It seems backwards.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I don't disagree. So
does that in a weird way keep it kind of fresh though?
Yeah, I think somehow it does.
Yeah, because I'm always interested in the main event in a way that I haven't been in quite some time. Where, like when Okada had the title, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a good match, and I wasn't really thinking about kind of anything other than that. With Sanada, I'm kind of thinking past just the match. With okay, well, if Hiromu takes him to the limit, what does that mean for him? Yota Tsuji, there's a big question mark over how much of a guy is he going to be made out of this. And he's like, okay, so he lost. So he's not totally rocket strapped. He's just main evented their 3rd or 4th biggest show that they'll run this year. And, I feel like he's almost a guy, but he's not quite there. That's why the G1 block with him is super interesting to me. I do have a lot of confidence with what I saw in Yota Tsuji. I think he's definitely up there. It does make a weird spot with LIJ. With now you have him, Naito, and Shingo kind of as these guys. Where on the hierarchy will Yota Tsuji kind of fall in that? Where does that leave a guy like Shingo and Naito who are on the back end of aging kind of situation? Those are the questions I'm asking. I'm not really like thinking about Sonata all too much. I'm just wondering about his next challenger and what that's going to lead for them.
Yeah. We shall see.
Yeah. Okay. So we got G1 coming up. We got Forbidden Door. Looks like a big summer for New Japan. It's not just AEW and their 2 shows. It's New Japan's cooking. I think. I think they're cooking in the right directions. A lot of new talent, fresh talent. I think it's an exciting time for New Japan and New Japan fans. I got one more drop to play. It's going to be super quick. Got some Dragongate to talk about because Kobe World's coming. And I figure I just get it out of the way now. And I will do that. Here's a drop. Okay, so Kobe World is Dragon Gate's biggest show of the year. King of Gate's going to be after it this year. So that is their booking strategy to avoid just the winner of the tournament faces the champion at the biggest show of the year. So, oh no, come on, Twitter. Why'd you reset like that? All right, hold on. I had here we go, full card. Okay. So, advanced match, it's a bunch of rookies and old guys. Don't worry about that. 6-man tag, Dragon Dia, La Estrella. Eita's come back to the promotion. He's pretty much Noah full-time these days. Kagetora, UT, and Taro Nohashi from Michinoku Pro Wrestling. There's an Open the Brave Gate title match. Jason Lee against challenger Ishin. Ishin was told to stop being a fat piece of shit and grimy, get into shape for this title match. So, that's kind of the story I took there. There's a random tag match of Masaki Mochizuki and Don Fuji against Shuji Kondo and Keno of Noah. Offer match. It's fine. There's a Stalker Ishikawa match. Don't worry about that. Twin Gate match. Okay, now we're at the crux of the card here. Mochizuki and Kanda, or Susumu. Mochizuki and Kanda. They won the Twin Gate titles recently, and I said this in the past. I am just not into Yasushi Kanda as a pushed wrestler at all. I not into it. I'm not really a fan of his matches. Good energy, but there's not much past that for me. Well, the challengers are Ben K and BB Hulk. Sure, I guess that'll be. I think that'll be like a 3.5. Kind of a floor kind of match there. Special singles match. Hiromu Takahashi continues his Wrestler of the Year contention by facing Yamato. I am into that match. That should be excellent. I think that's going to be the match of the night. Open the Triangle Gate title. KZ, Shimizu, JFK against Kota Minoura, Minorita, and Naruki Doi. That could be high energy. I, for some reason, think that match is only going to go like 10 to 12 minutes, so it won't reach another level. The Open the Dreamgate title is going to be Kakuta against challenger Yoshioka. So yeah, it's that's a Decourage Collide. I think that match will be pretty okay. Not really sure how it's going to vibe in the audience, though. It doesn't seem like a hot match at all. And then the main event is a steel cage match straight out of AAA. Mask versus Mask 5-way steel cage survival. Ultimo Dragon, Strong Machine J, Shun Skywalker, Diamante, and Dragon Kid. The rules are escape only, no pinfall submissions. Each wrestler's mask will be placed at the top of the cage. You must capture your mask first, and then you can escape the cage. Last competitor in the cage will lose their mask. So big stakes, no doubt. Just the way this match is put together seems like there's a lot of conflicting booking going on here, especially with Ultimo Dragon and Diamante. But you got Skywalker and Dragon Kid there. I think it'll be a match that has a lot of heat because of the stakes that's involved. But besides that, I don't think it's going to be a heavy work rate deal. So that's Dragongate. That'll take place on July 2nd, 2023. I know I kind of blasted through the card there, but since they had it all up, since they announced all their matches, and I've said this all year. I'm not into this iteration of Dragongate right now. I don't really care for their booking. It's a lot of people that just aren't kind of over to me at all. They're going through a lot of changes these last few years with people leaving the promotion, going freelance. The company seems pretty broke right now because they don't draw as well as they used to. And they just had another 2 prospects get fired, who they sent out for excursion. It's Kento and Fujiwara. Fujiwara was a top-end high prospect, was already in title matches on pay-per-views, the big shows, and then Kento was a heavily pushed commodity. And then they sent him out on excursion to Mexico, and I guess they got fired for smoking weed or some shit, which seems odd, but it's to me, I interpret it as a case of these guys just liked Mexico. They like the vibes there. They're in their 20s, and they're just they probably got caught doing something, and instead of fighting for it, they're like, we like it here better anyways, so who cares? And that's kind of it's brought up more conversations with me and various people in the Discord where the idea of excursions seems great for wrestlers to learn different styles, try to get over with a new audience, work out some character work. And in theory, yeah, people should do that, but that's what your house show loop is for. That's what your reps within your promotion should be for. And it's probably better to bring in freelancers or do like your promotion does a tour outside its normal place, and you can wrestle other people that you bring in rather than your wrestler completely leaves and possibly finds a better life outside. Grass is greener on the other side, and they realize that. And there's just too many examples over the last number of years in this post-COVID where people have gone on these excursions and then they just don't return. Or they end up signing with the company that they went to. Takeshita does I know it's not apples to apples, but Takeshita does an excursion and he signs with AEW. DDT loses its top star. Yuka Sakazaki, I know she was already signed with AEW away from TJPW, but these extended excursions to these other promotions, and then they just permanently leave.
Right.
And
that reminds me, I got to see Maki Ito on Wednesday night.
Oh, she's amazing live, isn't she?
Yes, I've seen her. I was lucky enough to see her at Lucha Libre and Laughs once, and then had I seen her in GCW? No, I had not. So Lucha Libre Laughs was the first time I saw her. She had a tag match. She teamed with Willow, and she was up against I don't even remember. But it was super fun. It was a lovely surprise for a Wednesday night.
There you go. And that's all I got. That's Dragongate. That's Puro. I will continue from here with the Joshi for a while, and then it'll be the retro stuff. Ricky, you powered through. Proud of you.
I made it. Now I'm going to watch the Nuggets win the championship from my bed.
Hell yeah. Rocky Mountain Pride. That's what I'm talking about.
As always.
All right. I'll see you later in the podcast.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Joshi section, women's wrestling section of the podcast, I'll call it today. That was Maya Yukihi's music, and I kind of had an epiphany the other day where I just tried to seek out a lot of Maya Yukihi matches from 2023, and I got a little depressed watching it because coming to the Patreon in time is going to be a tally from my podcast rankings that I've done since 2018 to now over kind of who have been the, I don't want to say like best women's wrestler in the world over these last 5 years, but in terms of the podcast and how I watch and the fandom, I think the results are, and it's literally just the points, the same 10-point scale I've been going on. I did have to do a little bit of recalculating for 2018 because there was a couple months that I just didn't consider. There were some matches I didn't see, and I actually still have all my notes from back then over how people were ranked. So I just did a little refresher course kind of on that, and it took quite some time with a lot of the wrestling I had to watch from 2018. And when I get to that section in the Joshi 2010s journey, which is also a Patreon running episode series that I do there. You can also get delayed free versions on AJW Dec podcast, where you can also get the AJW section of the podcast solo. Anyways, the point is, watch a bunch of my Yukihi matches, how much she's kind of influenced me in fandom and style and all that. And, you know, you'd never guess she has over 50 matches this year to this point, but it's a lot of like PPP Tokyo. It's a lot of undercard Oz Academy stuff. It's just a lot of kind of non-essential viewing and nothing of real note other than kind of her 3 or 4 matches that you remember from the Stardom run at the beginning of the year. And it's just kind of a good representation of what I was kind of worried about with Sari coming back to the scene, where I fear of where she's heading. It's just a lot of these like bigger name stars or should be stars in the Joshi scene that can't make the impact they probably should. And I'll throw like a lot of names out there. There's Arisa Nakajima, who has like 10 matches all year or something. There's Chihiro Hashimoto, where she's kind of stuck in Mako's world of the farmland, where she's only relevant when she does her 2 big matches every year. And anyways, I'm coming across really negative here, but it's, you know, when one of my favorite wrestlers just isn't doing much because of the state of things, and maybe it's personal choice as well, who knows? It was just kind of a reality check on that part. But I was challenged to watch the Masha Slamovich Killer Kelly dog collar match from Impact Wrestling, their recent pay-per-view. I believe it was Against All Odds or something. No way I was going to sit through that pay-per-view, but you know, I watched that match, and let's just say Bull Nakano Kandori, it was not. It was no high-end chain match that I gave 5 stars from that LLPW journey that I also do on the Patreon. A lot of plugs. It certainly wasn't any dog collar match we've seen in AEW's recent history from that regard. It was, you know, like I even caught myself up on the build, how they were going. I believed a lot in Killer Kelly in her early part of her career coming out of WXW in that academy. She had a lot of energy and spitfire to her. The feud with Toni Storm was really good. I enjoyed that. You know, I'm not talking it was, you know, 4-star plus matches or anything, but you could see the prospect in Killer Kelly. And I would say up until about COVID, where she had whatever issue that was, it was some lung issue that she suffered. She's really slowed down. She's regressed as a wrestler, and it really showed. It's really showed. They try to put her off as some hardcore, you know, crazy girl, and I feel that's a direction to kind of hide her lack of ability in the ring these days. She's just, I really think that she's kind of no good, and she's regressed as a wrestler. Then you got Masha Slamovich, who is one of the best wrestlers, women's wrestlers on the indie scene. I'm kind of reevaluating in my head, like, who's kind of at that level now, because, you know, when she's in GCW and doing, you know, going through panes of glass, you know, doing whatever she's doing in West Coast Pro, there's also a ceiling she's reached, and outside of maybe winning the Impact title one of these days, if they even get to that point, she's reached her ceiling as a wrestler on where she's at currently in this pecking order of the scene. I'd really prefer her to see her kind of go back to Japan and see what a run would be like there, but Marvelous isn't in the best shape, feuding with Oz Academy and Mayumi Ozaki punking out their champion in Shinjuku Face, which was, it's funny. It's funny how Ozaki plays off her own Forbidden Door to feud with Marvelous and, trying to recapture, I guess, a little bit of the early Gaia days, or those like early 2000s mid Gaia days. But back to the Slamovich Kelly dog collar match, and it was just so tame. They were only going to do so much, being like third from the bottom, being one of the better things that were built up on Impact TV that didn't involve Bully Ray. God, I'm just not an Impact fan. Unless there was going to be a bunch of blood, something that actually invoked a sense of violence, which, if you look back at any sort of big end chain match, dog collar of kind of any era that's any good, they have to capture that sense of violence and physicality in order for it to get over. And this match just didn't have that. The crowd didn't give a shit. The crowd was quiet. I wasn't invested in it. I wanted to see what they were going to do. And when they're doing like the hangman spot and Killer Kelly is forced to pull her own legs up so it looks like she's actually being choked, I just kind of shake my head and I'm like, this just isn't doing. And then the announcers are saying they're doing callbacks of the previous matches, and that involves the Owen Hart, Bret Hart sleeper pin going over the turnbuckle. I'm like, this is supposed to be a feud that has invoked a dog collar match, a incredibly physical match style, and they're going to do a callback of a flash pin. Like, doesn't work for me. I've seen some people praise this, but I kind of chalk that up to kind of hardcore Impact fans praising it to a high degree of that caliber. It's nowhere near there for me. It didn't even make my recommendation list. I just thought it was a match that went, 10 minutes? Plus or minus 2. It didn't do anything for me. I, in fact, was bored most of the time. Not good. Not good. And the wrestlers aren't. I don't think they're capable of doing anything like that unless they are allowed to like bleed buckets the way that kind of we all expect in this kind of match style or match stipulation. I will move on to kind of more just indie Joshi thoughts because I'm a little late coming out with this podcast, but like it's summer, man. I'm outside a lot. Ice Ribbon. I've been doing a lot of Pure J comparisons, and the Pure J podcast is still going on the Patreon. Just late coming out this month because JPQ is on vacation. Just tough getting the time settled. We will get that episode out, and then we'll have a quick turnaround of what happened in June when July rolls. But Ice Ribbon doing a lot of comparison to Pure J. They're pretty much on equal footing as a promotion these days. They run a lot of dojo shows. They run their 1 to 3 outside dojos a month. They get maybe 100 people to these things these days, plus or minus 20 people. They're both have small rosters. The difference is I think JWP with Nakamori is a bigger star than anyone currently in Ice Ribbon. I think Pure J has better prospects. I know Akari and Cray are like 4 years in, but until they're pushed, I guess they're going to be considered prospects. They have some veterans on there they get in. And I generally enjoy the Pure J more than Ice Ribbon these days, which sucks because Ice Ribbon was my favorite promotion for quite some time, Joshi-wise. But, when you're running Yappy as your top challenger and you're going to Skip City and drawing 111 people to this thing, you're a promotion in the mud. And it's cracked clay at this point. It's not great. It's not a great situation. And I'm not saying Pure J is doing any better, because they're certainly not. We're trying to look through, looking through, I can't say rose-colored glasses, but just trying to look at the positives. I just do not see any positives in Ice Ribbon going around. There was news that, I think it's her, Arisa Hinose. She was a rookie that debuted last year. She's been out a year. I guess she had some crazy injury. She's coming back. Hikari Manami apparently is coming back. And if you're unfamiliar with her, Joshi 2010's journey, baby, Patreon, talked a lot about her when she was in her teenage years, and then she just kind of disappeared and did some really shindy stuff. But she's apparently coming back to the promotion. That will actually get me to kind of check that out a little bit. No idea where, I mean, you want to know how old she is? She's like 27 about this time. She is not old by any means. Well, actually, she might be 30, because it is, I'm thinking, I'm thinking it's like 2020, but it's actually 2023. She might be 30 by now. Gives you some idea of how young she was back in those early 2010s. So that's interesting, at least. They're trying to, I guess, rebuild a roster of sorts with kind of getting some packs of the some aspects of the past to come back. Bani Okawa has jumped to Ganbare Pro Wrestling, which is interesting move. It doesn't speak well for Ice Ribbon if you're losing people to Ganbare, of all things. That is just a nothing operation going on there. So much nothing of an operation that I just took it off my attendance tracking lists altogether. And then, let's see, nothing going on in Seedling. Sendai's running the same 200 kilogram tags over and over again for every show. Already spoke about Marvelous. I think that kind of covered... Oh, Catch the Wave? No one's covering Catch the Wave. No one's talking about Catch the Wave. Catch the Wave is just so irrelevant, and they're drawing like 40 people to some of these shows at like Post Amistad. It's Catch the Wave is just so much of a nothing burger. I'm literally waiting for this promotion to close again, because there's nothing happening with Wave, and Catch the Wave is the one time a year that people pay attention to this thing, and they're just not having it. It's almost like they're on just a total waiting game for Nozaki and Yumioka to make their full returns to go up against each other, like those two in tandem together. Other than that, I guess I'll kind of move on to TJPW, where they have an absolute nothing build to Summer Sun Princess, which is happening in a few weeks in July. It's going to be their, I don't know, second, third biggest show of the year probably. It looks like it's set up for about 1,600, 2,000 if they fill in a lot of the seats. The venue's not set up to be more than 2,000, it looks like. And honestly, based on how TJPW has been doing attendance-wise in 2023, they're not gaining anything by any means, but they're also not losing audience to that regard. They're really staying steady over what their like pandemic numbers were, because they ran this Stick Out show, Stick Out 2023, June 11th, Cork and Hall, 604 people. It's actually a little. That's. I mean, they're not busting 700. They did that one time. 500-600 is kind of on par with what they've been doing the last 2.5 years, right? It was originally going to be, I believe, a tag title match for the show. That was the big draw of Miyu and Rika against Mizuki and Yuka, but Yuka has come down with a neck injury. Conspiracy theories. Insert where you want, where Yuka is doing the Hulk Hogan, not going to do the job, not going to put anyone over. She was, maybe AEW booking got involved. Who knows? But Yuka's hurt. They end up booking a handicap match in the semi-main event, where Mizuki fended off Miyu and Rika and ended up losing. 17-minute match. It was fine, but, 3 good wrestlers doing a handicap match. I really think they probably should have rebooked this to not be a handicap match and kind of changed up the card, but Tetsuya Kota, he is not the guy that really goes against the grain over what he has planned for a card. I think there would have been some value in getting someone else into that match instead of Yuka. And the main event was Yuki Aino defeating RC Endo to no one's shock. Endo is being highlighted more, but she still never wins. She's not being pushed by any means. maybe you can make an argument for Suzume because she beats rookies, but, I guess that's the same place where Endo is. TJPW is in a transition period where it's a lot of rookie talent, under 2 years. Most of their cards are filled with these wrestlers now throughout the tag matches, up and down, like almost to the top of the card. And, that's going to really bring down a lot of the quality that we've kind of gotten used to the last couple of years. My Hero Curio is getting a little better. She's getting a little charisma there, but a Hyper Masao singles match doesn't do anything for me. They're in this weird transition phase where nobody's been put over by the generation prior, right? And I'm talking like Miyu Yamashita, Maki Ito, Yuka Sakazaki. They're not booking anything important with Shoko. Mizuki's not a double champ anymore. She was. Had to vacate the tag titles. So no one's getting put over there by the Magical Sugar Rabbits. So then we're left with a main event of Yuki Aino, Arise Endo. And if they're still just drawing 600, I guess that's okay for now. But they really need to build up these people, and having Maki Ito go on like Instagram Live or whatever it was, where she's talking about AEW and traveling the US more and just kind of saying she's making jokes about finishing the story with Mizuki for a match. I mean, TJPW just can't be arsed to build up any of these matches for the show. And it's really I was criticizing their build at the start of this year. They're in this period where these people are frequently out of the promotion. They're high-end top stars drawing people. I say drawing like they were getting 1,500 to every show, but regardless, work with me here on the numbers. But their roster is, I really think their roster is taking a step back. Hardly anyone is ready for the main event. I'm not really getting the true feeling that Rika Tatsumi is going to move up to the main event as a permanent fixture. She's always kind of been in that transition. I've never been of the opinion she's one of the quote-unquote pillars of TJPW. I've always been on the mind that's 3. And are we going to have an established new 3 where it's Mizuki, Rika Tatsumi, and Shoko still there? Because she's certainly still there. Anyways. Look, Aino and Endo had a pretty good match. It was okay. It went 1 out of 3. Not Aino's best match. I think that tag match a few weeks ago was kind of her best showing, where she actually fought hard and, ended up losing. But regardless, we ended up getting there with TJPW, and we're on the road to Summer Sun. We have more of the card revealed. Vert Vixen is coming back for singles match. That'll be interesting. Sawyer Wreck and Miyu Yamashita are doing a thing. I don't see the value there personally. I would much rather see Miyu and Vert Vixen go at it. And Vert, if you're going to have Vert Vixen come in a lot more for these tours, or rather than these one-offs, have Miyu just lose to her. Who cares? It's not like Miyu's hanging out in this promotion all the time. They announced the Princess Cup, and, it wouldn't shock me if they do the story like they did last year with Yuka, where she just rolls through everybody and someone gets a sort of Cinderella run, if you will. But it wouldn't shock me if Miyu Yamashita just does. They end up going with the story that she never wins tournaments. She's always bounced, and this is the one she finally wins, because they did that with the tag tournament, and we saw how that worked out. And it wouldn't shock me if they go the route for the Princess Cup, where it's kind of the only thing eluding her in her career. And that would be right up the Cyberfight family alley of booking, because we saw it with Takeshita, where he won essentially everything right before he made the jump to AEW permanently. Yuko's kind of the same way, so could we be on a three-peat, if you will, with Miyu Yamashita? Would it shock me if Maki Ito wins this title? Not really. I still think they're really married to the idea that she's a loser, and that's her story. But I'm really getting the stronger feeling that she's just going to lose to Mizuki straight up. Gonna tell her, Ito respect Army for life deal, brother, and then kind of peace out back to GCW and fuck off around there and hang out on AEW Dark matches. Not the worst thing to do, I suppose, but I'd rather see her kind of build up a reputation as a big singles wrestler in her home promotion, or maybe future former home promotion. But anyways, that's TJPW. Pretty okay matches up and down the card. You're gonna have to kind of push through it. I'm really just kind of waiting to see when they start pulling the trigger on the new people, like in an official sense instead of this transition period. That's what I'm waiting on. And then I'll jump right into Stardom because the upload schedule has been horrendous. Clearly, Stardom World is not a priority when it comes to this promotion. It's $7. It's not like it's a whole lot of money. When they're on these far-end tours away from Tokyo, there's always a heavy delay, but this was kind of the most egregious where they're running, 3 shows a weekend kind of deal. And they're kind of trying to just upload a couple matches here or there that you might need for the future. And we got a couple good ones, but I mean, clearly the focus is domestic ticket sales, domestic audience, domestic advertising, events where all these wrestlers go to sponsorships. They're trying to make money, and clearly the value of the streaming service is not a top priority. And I kind of don't blame them. If they get up eventually, I'll just have to kind of accept that. It's not like I can do anything about it. I would absolutely prefer like a Wrestle Universe type service, but that's just not the dollar. That's not the yen value making of Stardom in its current landscape. They don't see that as a way to grow the same way as these heavy events, many outside of the Tokyo region, and expanding their brand. The Western audience, I think the Western audience comes naturally regardless, and the best way of doing that is putting on great matches and finishing great storylines. That's always that's the tried and true formula to get Western fans to watch your product, at least in Japan. It's to get the good matches across. And when you get like a Meltzer or someone from Post Wrestling, or people like me and Scott E just raving about, and Alex too on Stardom Quest, when we start raving about a high-end title match, there's a reason why Saya Kamatani and Hazuki is like a Stardom match of the year, and it got people talking. The Mina Shirakawa match, if the Tam Nakano Mina double title match was at a much higher level, then I'm sure that would have gotten a lot more buzz than what other things are occurring. Because TJPW is on Wrestle Universe, and they're running shows, and they live stream all the time, and it's not like I'm coming on here and raving about what to watch from this product, and because of that, not many people are talking about it. People are more concerned with Stardom World, but anyways, there are a couple good matches as we gear up towards the following weekend. We got the cage match going on, and it seems like that's going to be a little annual tradition. They're stealing from Dragongate, which kind of amuses me. That it's the threat. You got the Good Artist title match. Again, I'm sure that'll be fun. It's I believe it's escape only again. We got and then the big drawing match is the Oedo Tai Queen's Quest loser leaves unit match, which I'm into. Listen to Stardom Quest. Alex and Dylan over there, they did a good breakdown over what they think the story is, what's coming across to them as fans, and I totally agree. Because I never thought that the Saya Kamatani Utami rivalry exactly of why Queen's Quest is losing all the time, I never got the feeling that either of those two are going to leave the unit. With the tease earlier this weekend where Saya Kamatani's taking a bat and she's kind of looking at it, thinking, the elements of what they're trying to get across to get on our heads that Saya or Utami are possibly losing this match, I think it's been well done. Tora, I'll give her praises here. She is doing well on the stick to get the story across as well. And there was a kind of prelude QQ Oedo Tai match on one of the house shows where they really got, I think, another element of the story across is Utami, who are you? Where have you been? What are you doing? You are not the Stone Cold Killer that, we used to know when you had the title for a year. Where is that woman? And I think the final ice in the cake is this is the first time in years that Queen's Quest doesn't have a title. And I think this is a perfect time to do a match like this. I think earlier this year and last year where Lady C was kind of inexplicably being teamed up with like Micah and Himika and company, and people were making jokes of Lady D, DDM were making plays to get her in. I'm really into the Lady C kind of leaving QQ, and then you can get some rookies in QQ and get them back on track. I'd be okay with that. I'd be more than okay with Oedo Tai kind of losing a person or two, but I think QQ is losing the match. I think there's going to be some elements of Utami and Saya getting back, but like Stardom Quest said, like Alex said, this is about Utami getting back on track to be a main eventer. I totally agree. When I heard that, it was I can't say an epiphany, but I couldn't agree more. That's where I think this is going, and the cage match is going to be a huge step forward in that direction. And that prelude faction match on one of those house shows recently was excellent for that. I went full 3 on that one. That was good. The Oedo Tai shtick gets a little heavy at times, but it's all playing part of the story, and I vastly enjoy that. But the big match I got to talk about is the Generation Battle from Cork and Hall earlier this month. That was right up my alley in what I'm looking for. A 30-minute draw. It's fucking awesome. It's really establishing a lot of kind of a pecking order of things at this point in time, because you got Mayu, Suzu Suzuki, Saya Kamatani, Shuri, Utami. You got everybody, right? Micah looked incredible in that match. She's looked incredible all year. I mean, there's so many combos in this that really was able to exemplify and highlight each wrestler and their particular skill set and how they mesh together with other wrestlers. Like just the start of this match, where you got like a lucha sequence between like Mayu and Saya. You had Utami dropkick in the face off people. You had Shuri going to blows with grappling. Yeah, it was just overall enjoyable. I think easily my favorite sequence in that match was when Julia was a menace to everybody's face. They did good Tam and Julia elements there that the crowd popped to, so that's like one of the top feuds still going on. But it was Julia. She had someone in like a torture rack situation kind of deal, or was it Utami? Might have been Utami. Who cares? The point is, someone gets tossed off the shoulders, thrown into Micah's arms, and then she immediately does the standing fall away slam. I just thought that was so impressive, and there was so many elements of that where, if Mirai, here we go. If Mirai wins this title, the Wonder title from Tam, because that feud's got some back at the press conference where Mirai is talking shit to her and she got some mojo back. That if it's Micah and Mirai, that is a big time match to me right now. I just want to see these two powerhouses just lariat each other and try to shoulder block each other down in that mat hard. Or we could be setting up for a big Micah red belt match against Tam, which is very possible. I said this in the last podcast. The value of Tam Nakano and her amount of stories and connections to so many wrestlers in this promotion is so invaluable because everything's been built into each other, and they're teasing even more people with Tam, with like Azumi and Suzu Suzuki. Maybe you don't want to go to a Suzu Suzuki title match so soon, but new challenger, new challenges, right? Would be the worst thing in the world. So we're heading to that cage match, and you'll hear me come on here and Hopefully, the gimmick won't get in the way of everything. I mean, hell, we have Natsupoi and Sariano kind of going at each other's throats because they literally cannot coexist. The only thing holding them together is Tam Nakano. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I think that does it for the Joshi section, and I'm gonna move on to AJW and Retro, which could be very short this week. Here we go. And we're keeping it going. We're playing another drop. Let's go. All right. Double drop time. It's All Japan Women Wrestling. AJW Destiny time. Here we go. We're, 91 episodes into this sucker? 92. We're in 1994 on the road to the Dome. The retirement tour of Akira Hokuto is kind of the prime focus. Bull Nakano will be leaving in the summer for the WWF to develop a cocaine addiction of sorts. You think I'm kidding. But 1994 has spurred on some interesting developments, and this roster is heavily motivated because they know the Dome's coming. There's the Tanya Harding publicity stunt that they're running, which is still making headlines, where Tanya Harding doesn't even know what AJW is, but the Matsunagas, being the scummy businessmen that they were, yeah, that's what we're doing here. The classics really skip over a lot from March to June, but I was able to find a TV episode from an Okinawa tour that kind of got some buzz because there was a couple excellent matches on this show. One in particular, I might be my favorite of the year so far. But anyways, again, you notice a heavy motivation influence, and a lot of these wrestlers are, 5-6 years in now, maybe even more, depending on who they are. And they're really hitting their stride as a wrestler, as a character, getting charisma across in the ring. They're meshing well together. Amazing how if you don't have to retire at 25, you get better in the ring the longer you're in it. Yeah, it's weird how that works. So there's a lot going on there. I will go over to the Observer real quick. Just a minor notes. Meltzer talks a lot about the Tanya Harding scandal some more. I kind of went over that in detail last few podcast episodes. But the point is, I found a little snippet from the Okinawa tour. They had 3 straight legit sellouts, which was confirmed by multiple sources. This was not one of those 2,000-seat venues that they stuck 2,500 people in and claimed standing room only, and you see a bunch of empty seats. No, not that. This was an island tour, 3 straight sellouts of 3,300 people, so very good numbers there, especially considering where they went. And the idea of this entire tour was a tag title type tournament situation, where they had a tag tournament for an Okinawa trophy to kind of get people to come multiple nights. And they also had a UWA tag title match, not the main event, curious enough, to highlight the first night of this tour. Let me make sure it was the first night, actually. I want to double check that. It was... it was the first night of the tour. And the last night was on April 1st, 1994, where it was finished with a finals of Manami Toyota and Saki Asagawa defeating Takakao Inoue and Toshio Yamada. So I couldn't confirm this, but it sure seemed like it was kind of random draw tag teams, and I found like a bad version fan cam of this particular third night show. Not good enough to go out of your way and watch, but it looked interesting enough when you got matches like Mima Shimoda and Tomoko Watanabe going at it. That kind of stuck out to me, but again, the quality wasn't good enough to even get anything out of it. But yeah, that was the highlight of the tour. The UWA tag titles are being more focused on now that LCO. I mean, this push of LCO is incredible. Hokuto being on her way out and her immense star power was so felt, and so much of the promotion was focused on her. And I know people kind of point to Aja Kong in '92 got the big torch passing from Bull Nakano, and while that's true as champion, that's not. I still have not seen that as she's the main eventer, right? She's the focus. We haven't gotten to that point yet. It's still very much kind of a tag team focused promotion as we transition. And it's still very much interpromotional, and I keep pointing out that Aja Kong's not in those main events. However, we're heading into April here, and now we're starting to see Aja Kong as a focused person in this promotion, as the single star. Because Hokuto and Bull Nakano are going away. Now we're seeing Aja Kong in that role. And to be fair, she's been heavily protected and in big featured matches throughout her like a year and a half long reign at this point. So people do buy into her. And she's developing more charisma herself. So she's not the only one stepping up, right? You got LCO stepping up. You got Takako Inoue reaching a new gear. You got Yumiko Hota reaching a new gear in her wrestling style, which hasn't gone unnoticed by me. And that's very enjoyable. Who is actually kind of taking a step back is Kyoko Inoue and Toshio Yamada. They've stepped back in a lot of ways. They're not really taking the bull by the horns. They're not climbing up the mountain the way I think a lot of people thought at the time. While Manami Toyota's being Manami Toyota, she's flying around the ring. She's still up and down the card. Saki Asagawa is being more featured. She's kind of in that same, I can't say role, but because Manami Toyota actually wins matches, but you get the idea here. So this card kind of represented a lot of that. This is your generation. This is your roster that's going to go through the year up to the Dome, and when we get to 95, these people will be established, and the era of Bull and Hokuto will have come and gone on a nice little end tour, end moments, right? It's kind of cool. You get the feeling, and that's the feeling I get watching these shows from January 94 till now, heading into April, that this is their direction. We're finishing out our top stars of the late 80s, early 90s, and we're gonna officially kick off in 95. Aja Kong as the person. LCO is your tag team, and then we'll establish the challengers and everyone from there. That's what I get, and I think it's so obvious right now that's the direction we're going. So we begin this show from Okinawa, 3300 sellout, March 30th, 94. It was taped. It hit TV in like mid-April. So this is going to be our best example of that big March show to the big June show. They were kind of running things like this. Kumiko Meikawa defeats Ri Tamada. Nice little rookie singles opener match. I got nothing else to really go into there. Good for development. We'll see what happens as we continue on. Chikako Shiratori defeats Chaprita Asari. I enjoyed this a lot. The big Chaprita Asari story is she goes for that twister, she brains herself, and then loses. So everyone's got her scouted right now, and Chikako Shiratori, she's really stepped into what the role of Takako Inoue was in like 91, 92, where now she's out of the rookie phase. They've got her going into this closer idol-esque persona, while Takako Inoue is developing more of a mean streak side, more of a physical wrestler. So Shiratori's taking that spot, and I think that's a good spot for her, and where she's winning matches now. I enjoyed this match a lot. We got a decent little tag match here of Manami Toyota and Suzuka Manami, defeating Bull Nakano and Tomoko Watanabe. So Bull Nakano she's hanging out in the mid-card, helping out the young Tomoko here. This really felt closer to a late 80s AJW match without blood. But yeah, Toyota and Manami kind of doing their thing, flying around the ring. Even Bull Nakano got busy with a little high-flying plancha there. Tomoko, so this was your high-flying type match, ironically enough. Bull Nakano's lost a ton of weight, so she's able to move around the ring way easier. But she's definitely beaten up. This so-called quote-unquote reduced schedule isn't doing her any favors. But another enjoyable match, and we got a good little nice show going on here. And then we hit the Toshio Yamada Kairi Ito match. Yamada wins, unsurprising, but Kairi Ito, I'm saying it, she stinks. Like, I don't get it with her. She has no arsenal. It's double foot stomps. She runs the ropes to do the same bullshit over and over again. I'm sick of this woman. Like, Toshio Yamada, I admit she's kind of taken a step back at this point in time. She's not teaming with Toyota a lot. They're not doing their rivalry much anymore. It looks like they finished their kind of story for now. But then watching this, it's a lot of grappling with Yamada. She's trying to kick. Kairi Ito can't sell worth shit. I did not like this at all. This is when I thought Yumiko Hotta was like bad in 1989, 1990, where she just wasn't doing anything to develop. She was just doing her same repertoire over and over again. Didn't matter who she was facing or what the match was. It just never changed. And I'm going to be a little harsh. I think Yamada's kind of developed that same problem as well. She's trying a lot of jump kicks. They miss half the time. I don't know if this woman is like battling injuries, whatnot. I mean, I'm sure she was. It's AJW. Can't take a break at all, ever. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. I just didn't think this match was any good. We move on to the crux of the card. And it's LCO, Mita, and Shimoda defeating the UWA champions, Takako Inoue and Yumiko Hotta. 22 minutes this went. 4 1/4 in the Observer. I'm going 4.5, baby. I adored this match. This was awesome. I talked in January that it looked like LCO was getting their like tag team moves down. You know, the suicide dive into the plancha deal. Standing on their shoulders, doing electric chair drops. They're doing doubles, like top rope superplexes. They had some black and gold gear going on here. They're showing off their legs. They're becoming LCO. And this is cool to see. They're getting better every month, Mita and Shimoda. They're getting more confident. I mean, the second Etsuko Mita hits that Death Valley driver, this crowd goes nuts. Because they think, oh shit, that person died. There's no way this match is going on. And then Hotta will come out of nowhere and boot you in the face to kick you off. That's cool. And speaking of Hotta, she's reaching a new level. I think she was not quite understanding how to be the kind of martial arts Chigusa character that she's always tried to emulate. Because she's no good at selling. She's never been that. Unless she gets like kicked in the head and then she stumbles. But over the last, I would say 4 months, ever since that hand match, the famous hand match, now something's clicked in her where now she knows like the proper moments to sell and not just be staggered, right? Because there's too often where she's no-selling people, and then she'll go over and, like, boot you in the face really hard. Which is kind of cool, but, you know, it led to that, like, Kansai Hota match that I just didn't think was any good. Because it's just two people, like, not cooperating. At least that's how it comes across. But here, Mita and Shimoda are taking the boots to her, and she's actually, like, getting up and selling. You know, not really one of her strong suits. Now she's understanding these moments better, and it led to a great tag match, and Takako Inoue was out of her mind. She's like, to me, she's eclipsed Cutie Suzuki at this point in time in '94, where she's the idol character with an edge. And when she's getting in there with Shimoda and Mita, who are, how much taller are they than Takako? Because let's see, Takako's 5'4". Yeah, she's pretty small because Shimoda and Mita are like 5'7", 5'8". So, you know, there's 3-4 inches. I know that doesn't sound very tall when I say it out loud, but in terms of Japan and Joshi, let's just go with me on that. So, you know, Takako's doing big, like, back fists, and she's throwing big forearms. She's booting people in the face when they're on their knees. She's dumping people on their necks. This is good, right? She's hitting cutie specials. The Germans are hitting better. But the ultimate story is Mita and Shimoda have just leveled up as a tag team for the fourth straight month here. And they win these titles. Like I said, I went 4.5 stars in this match. Full 3 easy. This is a must-watch. It is the Okinawa March 30th, 94 show. Go out of your way to watch this one. This is highly recommended. And then we get to our main event. Aja Kong and Saki Asagawa continue their little Jungle Jack tandem here, defeating Kyoko Inoue and Reggie Bennett. Reggie Bennett, guys, she has made it to AJW. And unfortunately, this was very much a house show match. They did a main event that it could have been on any show anywhere in Japan. Aja Kong did the karate pose. Saki Asagawa was doing jump kicks where no one was there, then doing a pose. Kyoko Inoue and Reggie Bennett are striking, you know, flexing poses in the middle of the ring. Most of this match was very much them doing a house show stick until a last 5-minute stretch of Bennett and Hasegawa kind of going at each other. In a way, she was kind of a second fiddle. She'd hit her key moves, same with Kong, but very much a non-inspiring type match. Meltzer gave it 3.5. I think that's kind of more than fair. I'm leaning towards that 3 range. You know, I did expect more. The crowd was still into it nonetheless. They're seeing the stars kind of go at each other. Reggie Bennett got over more than probably people realized, even at the time, because she's a big girl. She's a big girl and she's torture racking bitches. I think it was in the last episode where Reggie Bennett actually won a match with the torture rack, Lex Luger style, and in this one she put it in again, and I think people bought it because they saw the result maybe in a newspaper or something. So then when she put like Hasegawa in this, until Kong kind of came over with a back fist, people thought this match was over. So that got a good pop. We're gearing up to a big June show. Like I said, Kong and Hasegawa won this. It's a house show match, not much worth going into there. But go out of your way to watch that UWA tag title match. That was excellent. Is it my favorite match of '94 so far? It might be. It just might be. That hand match was super good though. Yeah, I'll have to think about that because it was just high energy from start to finish. Exactly what you want out of this era. And that'll do it. I believe the next one will be the big June show from AJW, and we continue on our road to the Dome. And that was AJW Destiny.
Okay.
Okay, Ricky. WCW. I played Riho's music for God knows what reason. You know, whatever.
It's bouncy. It makes
super
me bop.
bouncy. It's bounce.
I literally cannot. I cannot sit still when I hear that song. Like, I was listening to it at work one day, and like, I was literally just like bouncing back and forth, and I was like, somebody better not come walk by my desk right now because I cannot sit still.
See, I was gonna make a golf reference like it was like my 60-degree bounce, and I just shanked it right. Ah, disaster. Fuck.
Oh no.
Okay, so for those that don't know, obviously, I think at this point we've recorded these in way different time periods.
Yep.
This WCW period, I have watched the show. I have listened to the show in a various capacity. I have now come home from multiple rounds of golf in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I won $14. 14 whole dollars.
Hey, you can buy 2 beers and leave a nice tip.
If you're a nice person, sure. Sure. Okay. So we're doing WCW The Nitro post Starrcade 99.
Okay, what did I tell you I wanted from Starrcade from this episode? After the pay-per-view, what did I tell you I wanted?
You wanted answers.
I wanted answers.
You wanted answers.
Did I get any?
Did you get your answers?
I got convoluted, nonsensical. Yes, I would say there's some. There was some reason behind what Piper did at the end of that pay-per-view.
Wow.
However, it goes through like 7 different stages in about 12 different backstage segments in this episode of Nitro.
You're right. You're right about that. So, for the Cliff Notes version, is they tried to essentially do the Montreal Screwjob 2 years later.
Yes.
That's what they did. Bret Hart.
Well, and he even... Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it was Bret Hart Goldberg, and they had a paid-off ref based on creative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In full disclosure of what supposedly the audience knew. And when we went off the air, we were under the impression that Bret Hart had no idea, and it was all on creative to book this show.
Yes, that is what I understood.
Right. So, throughout the show, I mean, the matches were inconsequential to fullest degree.
It was another one of these where they were all under 5 minutes. So,
right. I mean, the longest match on the show was
7 minutes and 14 seconds.
7 minutes?
At the tag match at the end.
Oh, the Varsity Club. Yeah, that was.
Seconds.
Yeah. Okay, I see it now. However,
that was the longest match on the show.
Yeah. However, when it came down to what we saw at Starrcade the night before,
mm-hmm.
and what was trying to be put over with Bret Hart in the screw job and Goldberg not knowing what to do, and what's happening with Roddy Piper and Creative Control, our understanding was Roddy Piper was essentially threatened with his job, and he did what he was told. And Bret Hart and Goldberg had no idea. So, throughout the show, it was Vince Russo, who's been in basically creative for weeks and months, telling Roddy Piper, look, if you want to like be able to pay your rent, essentially pay your mortgage, get your kid like through school, because his kid was all over the show.
The kid was on the show for sympathy points. Yeah,
like you will just do what you're told, and then Bret Hart and Goldberg, in it or not, we the audience do not know, is inconsequential. All that matters is Roddy Piper's decision and why he did it. So, you know, that pay-per-view we ponied up $60 for, if you were there in 1999, what you just did was meaningless.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Totally cool. Totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the gist of that. There was so many problematic things on this show too. So Medusa opens the show, having
God.
just won the cruiserweight title. She's not wearing it.
No, why would she?
She's not wearing it, and she issues an open challenge anyway. And she starts by talking about her TNA. And then they do
Ricky,
an equality.
did you know women have boobs?
Did you know WCW knows that women have boobs?
Oh my God, didn't know that. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But she's literally talking about her TNA. Then they're trying to do some sort of equality angle, and the ref is distracted with sex. And again, Medusa cannot win without help.
Right.
So much for equality.
Yeah, this is an angle, story, whatever you want to quantify it as. The women have done something that is equivalent or better than men, and then immediately followed up with, we're not as good as men.
Yep.
Awesome.
That wasn't the only problematic misogynistic thing on the show.
That was fine.
Later there's like a 10-minute promo about DDP's wife.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And how hot she is, and how every guy would bang her if they had a chance. Like married men, doesn't matter if she's married. It was so uncomfortable to listen to.
To be fair, she is very attractive.
Yeah. I'm not disputing that. She's a gorgeous woman. And
but the promo did not frame it in any way of that form. No.
You can't do that.
Okay, let me put it this way. Like we're critiquing AEW as a modern day promotion under heavy scrutinizing circumstances. Especially with its women's division and how it's booked. And then when I compare it to any other era, it's never been as good as it has been now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that means we can give this a pass.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this era was so horrid that this was the standard. So then, by comparison, when we look at a 4-minute match where Rhea Ripley beats up a jobber, or the Britt Baker beats up a jobber on AEW, where that 4-minute match is now acceptable. That's not good. It's not good. It's lowering the bar to an extent that we just can't accept.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, there were multiple matches on this show that were just rematches from the night before.
Sure. Great incentive to buy the pay-per-view.
Another ladder match. Right.
I'm sorry, did you say another ladder match?
I did say another ladder match. Although I did really, really enjoy the gimmicked ladder. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was clever. I've never seen it.
Do tell.
I thought it was clever. That's it. I had never seen it. I thought it was clever.
All right. For those that need a recap, the U.S. title was promptly vacated because Scott Hall could not make the match. Okay?
On the pay-per-view.
Okay. Ricky, was he on this show?
Scott Hall? Yes, he was.
Ah, okay. So, nullifies that, I suppose.
But there was also like a match that wasn't a match. Like, the DDP Bam Bigelow thing, like, there was no ref in the ring. It like wasn't actually a match. And then Scott Hall is like healthy enough to swing his crutch around or something. I don't know.
No, I mean, there were matches, for sure. Chris Kanyon beat
That
Bam
was
Bam
not a
Bigelow via DDP, or Jeff
Or is
Jarrett
that what
beat
that
Benoit for the U.S. title
Okay,
that
well,
was
okay.
vacant but not.
Yes. So, yeah, why did that happen again? I'm so confused. So if we recall from the pay-per-view, Benoit was gifted the title, even
Sure,
though it
yeah.
had been vacant. He goes, fuck that. That's not how I want to win it. Let's have a match. And he issues an open challenge in a ladder match. And Jeff Jarrett on the pay-per-view answered the challenge.
You are correct.
The next night on Nitro, they do another ladder match. And I did not understand why they set this match up.
I have an explanation. You ready for this?
I don't know. Am I?
Are you ready? I have it.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. This is the reason.
Okay, I'm listening.
Nobody watched the pay-per-view, nor bought it, so they put it on free TV.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. It's absolutely bad.
Fucking terrible. You should have left it and then made a reference to it and made people buy the replay 2 nights from now that we kept hearing on the whole show. They're like, you can buy the replay and watch it on starting on Thursday or whatever.
Well, here's the even more wacky reason. Scott Hall was stripped of the U.S. title because he couldn't make the date via, alcohol issues or the like. Okay.
Sure.
You gotta make adjustments. Okay, we're doing that. We're doing that in AEW with Jeff Hardy and the like. Okay, cool. You're on TV the next day, and yet Scott Hall's there. So, what did we fix? What did we enable?
Oh, I thought that was rhetorical.
Oh, well.
I didn't realize. I mean,
that's the point. I'm also coughing in the background, but yeah, right. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
This entire show is a fucking contradiction. Every angle coming out of Starrcade 99. My God.
Don't die. I thought
every angle coming out of this pay-per-view was wait and see. Whoever character, whoever what we're doing, and when we clap our hands together, rub them, and we go, okay, what's up for the year 2000? And they're plugging the new millennium, they're plugging the Astrodome and New Year's Evil, and they're, look, there's a reason why in 1999 I have no memories of New Year's Evil, and I grew up in Katy, Texas, right outside Houston. It's because I didn't buy a fucking ticket, and I didn't want my parents to do it because Nitro fucking sucked. So what do? Well, you ever hear anything about Nitro 99 New Year's Evil? No, you don't. So I can't wait to cover it, obviously.
I mean, honestly, I missed this era of wrestling completely in my fandom. So as terrible as the 2 shows I've watched so far have been, I'm having fun watching them and covering them with you.
Oh, so. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's hilarious to cover. But here's the thing.
Oh,
this is why, this is prime reasoning why I constantly amplify that the era of 96 to 98 in that 2 years is grossly over amplified for the era of nostalgia, because when we're covering I will just put this out there. When I'm reading things like X-Pac is going to come into AEW and bring in some vision and be in some angles, I'm like, we went through this fucking 25 years ago. Are you kidding me? And there's people that are out there that are going, okay, well, they revolutionized an industry, and I don't mean to pick on Hibiki TMD, because he is very he's been on this podcast, I've been on his, and he's very intellectual of the past. I don't deny that. But my, however, circumstance comes into when myself and him start talking about the comparison to the present, and there comes up the comparisons of like what gets over these days is probably the best example of this circumstance, and it doesn't translate the same because us as fans have been there before, been there time and time again, and the wrestlers of today don't seem to know or are able to be booked at the same standard of getting over that we want them to as fans. And that's that is certainly a tough medium ground to meet. I don't deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But to say straight, I mean, I hear that constantly with this generation that, this generation this, of the past especially. And go on. Go on. I've rambled on quite a lot.
I mean, the thing with AEW bringing in these nostalgia acts too is they're doing such a good job of creating new fans.
Are they?
Well, maybe not. I don't know. But sorry, I'm starting to get stuffy again.
Sure.
But there are plenty of fans like me who have only been watching for 5 years. But the nostalgia doesn't do anything for us. So,
okay, I will absolutely interrupt you on that note because COVID changed a lot of things.
Okay,
absolutely, it changed investment. It changed fandoms. Okay, and I firmly I will directly compare the anime fandom to wrestling fandom. There's kind of a 3-year turnover. Know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
You'll get fans that stick around for sure, but the majority of them, after a few years, will go, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to move on to my next interest. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In terms of what we're dealing with now, I mean, when you look at the years, we're 3 years out of COVID. A lot of these fans kind of became fans during this period, right?
Sure. Yeah.
How do they react? What's the right time to react?
Mm-hmm.
How do they invest is a big thing.
Yeah.
I truly believe we're in a period over the next 18 months that, yes, you can absolutely do year over year, 6 months to 8 months comparisons. But you need to kind of put an asterisk on it that going, okay, what has changed culturally? To kind of make you think that way, right?
Yep.
I think that's where I kind of stand.
Right. I have a couple other random thoughts on this show before we wrap it up.
Oh my god, yeah, we are talking about WCW.
Before we wrap it up, 1999 Ricky would have been obsessed with Daphne. Let me just tell you this.
Really?
I'm already obsessed with her. Yes. I liked what she did with the Imperial and the Misfits. I liked her less with David Flair.
Oh. Well, I mean that's a constant. Anything with David Flair is modern day Dominic Mysterio. I am fully anyone who compares like real heat to Dominic Mysterio, I go, this is what the same shit that we were talking about with David Flair in '99. It is so bad.
But
Ricky, I'm gonna interrupt you. You've seen like Dominic in these days, right?
I mean, I've watched a couple other pay-per-views, but
okay.
I know what the deal is.
You've seen David Flair.
Yeah.
Do you want to see either of them actually wrestle in the ring?
No.
That's the big problem. That's the one.
Yeah. No, I get that. I'm just saying Daphne rules.
Yeah, I'm saying who she's collaborated with, basically. I'm because Daphne got over. Rhea
I'm sure she
Ripley
did.
has gotten over with Dominic.
Sure.
There's
Yep.
your direct comparison there.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Everyone sees Rhea Ripley as a huge babyface, wants to see wrestle week in and week out. Daphne becomes a kind of cultural figure. And yet, when it comes to like David Flair, Dominic Mysterio, when the bell rings, all of a sudden it's like, shit. We gotta watch a match? Oh no.
Speaking of Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio, I recently read that Rhea Ripley's only had like 14 minutes of in-ring time since she won the belt.
Yeah, it's bad.
By the way. Yeah. Asuka's done better, but
has she?
That sucks. Yeah, but anyway, that's what I'm reading. I'm not paying attention. It's what I'm reading and getting from the review shows. Okay, couple other points that I wanted to make.
I used to like keep stats like that for my own like material, but I stopped because it wasn't worthwhile because every single company was bad.
Sure.
Yeah, let me put it this way. If Impact was doing good booking with women's wrestling and allotted time, I'd cover it. But they're not.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just sniffled right.
We should probably finish out this WCW. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wait. Before we get to the end, before we get to the end, I just want to tell you a couple things that enhanced my viewing of the show.
Oh no.
Well, so I watched it on Peacock, which I don't pay for. I figured out my mom's Xfinity password.
Oh hell yeah!
Because she uses the same password combination for everything, where she just changes the first letter to the letter of the account. So Netflix starts with N, Xfinity starts with X,
sure.
Peacock starts with P. That's the same password past that. Well, I get into my mom's Peacock, and she obviously doesn't pay for it. She gets it through Xfinity, so it has ads, which is annoying. But what I do appreciate about the Peacock version of this show is that they kept the 1999 Slim Jim ads.
Oh. Snap into a Slim Jim, yeah!
I mean,
always
I
Macho
wasn't
Man.
watching... I know, I didn't watch wrestling in 1999, and I love those commercials.
Oh my god, the Surge and Slim Jim ads. Oh, they were
that's what I was going to
say.
Me. Okay. So JJ comes into I didn't get any Surge full ads, but JJ walks into his dressing room to look at a mirror or something. I don't even remember what he was looking at, but he puts down a can of Surge, and I popped so hard.
Of course he does. It's always Surge. For the last 8 months in WCW, there's so much Surge. So much.
God, I love Surge. I loved it, and I popped so hard. Okay,
they still sell it.
Let's get to the end of this match.
Okay. So I'll just race through it. How's that sound?
Yeah. So repeat WCW World Heavyweight Title on the line. Bret Hart versus Goldberg with a legit referee. And what happens?
Well, there's a bunch of ref bumps, and then Piper comes out, of course, and so does Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Scott Hall, who, by the way, was not able to compete last night, the previous night, but he's there tonight. No problem.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's there. Jeff Jarrett, who was there fucking 6 times, he's there.
Yeah. Okay.
And
he doesn't show up till after the 3 count. So
no, he's involved.
He's involved. No,
he's involved.
No, he's not. He doesn't come out until after the 3 count.
No, he is absolutely involved. So what happens is Nash and Hall come out. They beat up Goldberg while Bret Hart is like Tim Taylor in Home Improvement.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Jeff Jarrett comes out. And he has his guitar. And what happens is...
Oh, you're right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and what happens is Roddy Piper has put his body over Bret Hart. So my worst instincts was going, oh, Roddy Piper's the champion because the ref counted 3.
Same. Well, okay, so he puts his body over Goldberg to protect Goldberg.
Sure.
While this is happening, Bret Hart stands up.
Yeah.
Then the ref counts 3.
Oh yeah. So
Bret Hart is not involved in the pin.
Yeah. So you're like, I don't know who's fucking champion. I guess Roddy Piper. Like I think the most bullshit thing possible that makes sense. I guess Roddy Piper's champion because he was over the guy that was being pinned? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. And then the ref just hands the title to Bret Hart. Bret Hart's exiting the ring, but not yet, because this is key.
Right.
The music plays, and it's Bret Hart's music. Bret Hart tries to cut a promo. No one can hear him. He's screaming into the mic. You don't know what's going on. Then Jeff Jarrett has spray paint, silver.
Oh yeah.
And he spray paints NWO over Goldberg. And then, as Kevin Nash gets the microphone, the NWO music plays. NWO. Bow, ba-dow, bow, ba-dow, ba-dow, bow, and the crowd goes, oh?
Yep.
Like Tim Taylor Home Improvement. And Kevin Nash goes, the band is back together. I guess.
Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett.
and Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett are like, I don't know. I guess. They're outside the ring. They don't know what the fuck's going on. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash have the tag titles. Yep. Who the fuck knows? The music's playing of the NWO. I mean, the understanding of the time was Hulk Hogan's supposed to come out, like something crazy, but...
okay.
Nope. Nothing happens. It's just this angle. No one knows what's going on. Trash fills the ring, as they do, but it's not as much as usual. And we're all just left with, okay. Starrcade happened. It was Bret Hart, Goldberg.
Right.
Indecisive finish with Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper has sold out, but he's fired. Sure. Kevin Nash, early on the show, says, you have fucked the boys. I can't believe you've done that. Like, big fourth wall breaking promo. For him to go, nah, I joined Bret Hart in the new NWO. What the fuck? Yeah. It's an entire contradiction from start to finish. And on top of it all, we're watching this show going, what the fuck did we just see?
Yeah.
Tune in next Monday for who's the champion? I don't know. Who's the U.S. champion? I don't know. Who's the tag champion? I don't know. What happened at Starrcade? I don't know. Nobody knows. Everything's a contradiction of each other from start to finish. It's incredible. It's incredible. It is the worst television wrestling I've ever seen. Like, I've seen bad. With, like, Ric Flair get beat up in a cornfield and being taken back. He's in an aside. Like, we're talking, like, 2-3 segments. At this point, 99, we're at an entire show where we have no clue what's going on and if anything matters.
Right.
As far as we're concerned, nothing matters. You could lose at the pay-per-view and then get the same title shot the next day, get screwed, and then tune in next week, you will get another chance. This is bad. This is horrible. This is unacceptable. Cannot do it. Can't do it.
It's real bad.
It's real bad.
Yeah, I was going to chime in, but I lost my train of thought because your rant was too good.
Ugh.
All right. I think that does it.
There we go. WCW, I mean, look, I played 9 holes of golf, rain, drinking. I'm definitely slurring. There's no doubt about that. I'm definitely fever. All over the place. But look, WCW 99 going into 2000 does not deserve to be sober. That's my train of thought. You do not deserve my absolute attention. Because it's so bad. It's so bad, Ricky. It's terrible.
Okay.
Why take notes on something that you can't remember even reading your notes?
My notes did help me remember stuff.
Oh, boy.
Especially considering I have a fever. I've had a fever for
I have a fever just doing this.
Is the cure more cowbell?
Oh, Cabo Wabo? Tequila?
Cowbell.
Oh, okay.
I have a fever.
I was thinking Cabo Wabo tequila. That's good stuff.
I did have a glass of wine while we recorded this because
glass of wine and cough medicine. Oh, you're living the Houston life, baby. You're just like medicine. Nikola Jokic is going home. I'll drink for him, baby. Woo! 23-10. Let's go.
Oh yeah. By the way, Nuggets are national champs. Fuck the world. I'm not going to the parade tomorrow because I still have a fever.
Dude, look, so if the actual MVP has to go home to Serbia, you don't need to go to the parade.
No, he's going to be there, and he's got a private plane waiting for him at the end of the parade route. Basically, yeah, basically.
Oh my God, how much money do you think he had
needs to
take?
Get to his horses?
How much money do you think?
He said he was going to ask Kroenke for the plane.
Yeah, so Kroenke paid for his flight.
It's his jet. It's like how Tony Khan has a jet. It's like kind of the same idea.
Yeah, but that's the same thing. Like he just goes, no, I gotta.
No, that's what I love about Jokic. Yeah. It's like this is just a job. I'm here for the job.
Yeah,
and now I have to go to this stupid work party. And I'd rather be home with my horses.
Yeah, this guy was asked I gotta go to a fucking parade. Are you kidding? No, I gotta go back to Serbia. Are you kidding me? I got my mom waiting for me. She's got grush. I got this beautiful soup. And he's like, Kroenke, are you gonna pay the fucking $3,000 for me to get back home that day? Yes.
Oh, it's probably $30,000.
Well, all right, fair.
I love the guy. I'm grateful that my office is literally on the parade route. So my work said you don't have to come to the office tomorrow. Not that you get the day off. You have to work from home, but me being sick, it's a benefit. Now, about half of my office, at least, did take the day off to go to work. And if I was feeling well enough, I would go to work tomorrow and I would walk downstairs to see the parade when it passed by. That's what I did for the Avs parade. But I am I am sweating and I'm ready to go to bed.
All right. Well, with that,
that's my deal.
Yeah. I mean, Bret Hart's the champion, I suppose, in the new NWO with Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, Wait, is he champion with an A or with an O? Did you see the Nuggets hats that they were wearing? And the hats they were wearing that said, you know how they always print the hats and the shirts for both teams in case one wins,
Sure.
The hats that they were wearing the night that they clinched had champion CHAMPION.
Okay.
That is misspelled. It's PION.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, it's late. All right. Yeah. Oh my God.
All right.
On that note. This was whatever episode it was. Jesus.
Good night.
Good night.